We've come across many different types of laptops. There are high-end laptops, mid-range laptops, and this one is kind of a special kind of high-end content creator focused laptop because this is the Gigabyte Aero 15 OLED, and as the name suggests, it's using an OLED screen. It's pretty much the same as the previous generation of the Aero 15, but of course there are some updated specs, and since we didn't review the previous version, so now we're going to do an in-depth review of it. So now let's talk about the display here, because this is obviously the biggest feature of this laptop. So it comes with a 4K OLED display here, and the bezels are very thin. But of course the chin is kind of big, but that's kind of expected right now, and the webcam has been moved down here, so you get a nose cam. But that's not an issue here because the display is just way too magnificent. Obviously, the only time that we get to see OLED screens is of course in smartphones, and we've dealt with a lot of smartphones with AMOLED screens, Samsung AMOLED screens by the way, which is also what Gigabyte uses here for the Aero 15 OLED. It's kind of surreal when you're using an OLED screen, such a beautiful OLED screen on a laptop. And yes, number one, the brightness on this laptop is blindingly bright, so if you are in a dark room, please do not look directly at the screen. Remember to turn down the brightness first to about 10-20% before looking at the screen, or else your eyes will hurt. And the second point here about the display, when I look at the Windows settings menu, it's just way different than before because of the deep blacks that AMOLED offers. And one more thing that I don't understand how Gigabyte did it is to reduce the amount of reflection. So this display here, 4K in resolution, is using a glossy finish, but for some reason the coating on top of it just removes a lot of the glare and reflections, so you can still use this display outdoors without worrying too much about all the reflections and whatnot. So I did mention earlier that I watch a lot of content using this screen itself, even non-HDR content, which is just called SDR. It looks great on this screen itself because it's just very bright, colors are vibrant, and the deep blacks is just amazing. But when I'm creating content using this laptop, there's only one thing that I worry about. If I'm looking at such beautiful colors, a majority of other people, smartphone users, laptop users, even desktop users, they're still using IPS LCD screens, so they might not see what I'm looking at. So I'm kind of worried about that. And the biggest concern that I have with the OLED screen is of course burn-in. So far, I've been using this laptop for 1 whole week with maximum brightness showing the same image for the entire time that I'm using it. So far, there's still no burn-in marks, but that's more like a long-term kind of test. So as of now, there's still no burn-in yet. Okay, so now the performance of the Gigabyte Aero 15 OLED. Like we mentioned earlier, this is the refresh version. So it's using a 4K screen like we mentioned earlier, a 10th gen Intel Core i7-10875H, and then an RTX 2070 Super Max Q. 16 gigs of RAM, DDR4 2666 MHz, and obviously this laptop can handle everything that I throw at it, including Premiere Pro, Photoshop, Audition, everything else. It just juggles around all of those tasks easily without any issues. And since this laptop is using an AMOLED screen, I decided to do something different this time. So now comes the battery life. This laptop comes with a 94 watt-hour battery. And what I did this time is to take this laptop and try to edit videos using this laptop on battery. I got 2 hours, which I think is kind of okay considering that OLED screens of this laptop here does take quite a lot of power, and the RTX 2070 Super Max Q is also kind of power hungry. And within the 2 hours, I managed to edit like a majority part of that video, so I guess it is a really good productivity device when you're out and about too. As for the charging time, it takes about 2 hours to reach from 15% all the way to 100%, which is once again pretty standard. As for the keyboard and trackpad of this laptop itself, there's nothing much to really complain about. I don't find any flaws with it, but also I don't really find anything to highlight specifically that I like. One thing that you need to take note of is that this is using an edge-to-edge keyboard design, and the typing area has been shifted to the left, but the trackpad doesn't shift all the way to the left as well. So it's still kind of remaining in the middle-ish part. So yeah, it doesn't bother me that much, and there's no palm rejection issue as well. So overall tracking is also very good on the trackpad itself. It's using Windows Precision trackpad drivers. Overall, keyboard and trackpad, they're good. And let's not forget about the ports on this laptop. Being a content creator-centric laptop, this laptop actually does come with a lot of high-speed ports. So you can see here there's a full-size HDMI port on the left, a mini display port, and then you have a USB 3 Type A port, a combo audio jack, and also a full-size Ethernet port here. And on the right side, you have double USB 3.0 Type A ports again, 5 gigabits, and then a Thunderbolt 3 port here, which I really like, and also full-size SD card reader, which also one that I really like a lot. And then there's the barrel jack here, which I think they could have placed it at the back here, but the back of the laptop here has this very weird sports car brake light illumination kind of thing going on, which I'm not sure what they're thinking. I would prefer the power jack to be at the back here. And opening up the laptop here, you can see that most of the things here are upgradable as well. So you got the second M.2 slot, which is entirely empty, so you can just slot it in there. It's beside the battery, by the way. And then the RAM is also fully serviceable, and you can also swap out the Wi-Fi 6 card. It's Wi-Fi 6, don't swap it out, it's already good enough. And for its design here, I would say that the Gigabyte Aero 15 OLED is using this kind of unassuming, professional looking black sleek design here. And this laptop is also relatively thin, by the way. So yeah, it's a bit dense because of all the cooling systems and all the specs that it has, but yet managed to pack everything in this small footprint. So yeah, this is a pretty solid laptop, I would say. So the Gigabyte Aero 15 OLED. Do I recommend this laptop? Well, as a content creator, I would say it's a really powerful laptop. A lot of display outputs, so you can output to many more other displays to do your work on. But then again, this OLED display will go to waste. And this laptop is not cheap. So the exact configuration that we have here is priced at 11,999 ringgit. It's not cheap, definitely not cheap, but remember, OLED display, you get 2070 Super Max-Q, a Core i7, and this laptop is just powerful. So if you want all of those features in this laptop, then maybe the price is good for you. But it's for a very niche market in the whole industry. So do your research on this laptop and see if it actually fits to your workflow. For me personally, I really like all the ports and obviously the display. And yeah, I do use a laptop as a laptop, and I bring laptops wherever I go. So this is a unassumingly good laptop. So that's all we have to say about the Gigabyte Aero 15 OLED. I don't want to return this laptop because the OLED display is just too fantastic. And if you have any questions, do leave them down in the comment section below. We'll answer them whenever we can, and we'll see you next time.